What's going on, good people? Rich here.
School in the building. What's happening?
What's up, guys? It's your girl, Ray P. Welcome back to another episode of the Culture Garden Podcast.
Yo,
Hey, you see the trio is here.
In
yeah.
full effect.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. It is still Romance Month. However, if you don't know by now, we are Black as shit.
Yeah.
So we had to make sure we had some
That's
Black
right.
history going on. 25th annual Black Real Awards. We're discussing it today, but before we get into that, Romance Month will continue. We'll talk about that at the end of the episode. But none of that really matters right now because I want everybody to know if we're your first listen on Thursday mornings and you're listening to this on the 28th as we cap out an incredible Black History Month,
Yeah.
I want you to know, excuse me, the 27th. The 27th. I want you to know that Saturday, March 1st. All right. Put this on your calendar. Real nigga holiday.
Period.
Yeah.
The
Period.
GOAT was born
Yeah.
on March
Yeah.
1st. And that's
Aw.
all you need to know. Rachel's birthday is coming up.
Hey.
Holiday. Make sure you show her some love. Make sure you reach out.
Absolutely.
Make sure you extend it all.
For sure.
Just want to make sure we have a good space to celebrate you, Ray P. I'm excited for your birthday. I will be able to spend some time with Rachel on her birthday, so I'm looking forward to
Crazy.
that. Insane, but that's what life is for, man. Like Nas said, man, I don't work this hard to be around people I don't like.
Period.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what it comes down to, man. So shout out to Ray P. Make sure y'all show him some love on her birthday.
Thank y'all
Please
in
remember to
advance.
like. Yeah, man. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, comment, the whole nine. Engagement helps us, so we appreciate all of you for that. Leave a review. Hey, man, if you like what you hear, just leave a review. Let people know what you think, good, bad, and different. If it's bad, somebody might be coming to see you. Not saying no names, not incriminating ourselves. We're just joking. We want honest feedback because we really want to make this space better and make sure it's for, all movie lovers. But we also want to make sure the community is for who it is. Shout out to all the Culture Garden family. Could not do any of this without you. Before we get started, if you haven't known, there will be spoilers and explicit content. I think we already broke that rule. And of course, no film today. We're going to be recapping, as I mentioned, the 25th annual Black Real Awards. Shout out to Tim Gordon. Shout out to Cordell Martin, who were on the show. There's no way that we recorded that in January.
Crazy.
And it's only February.
That's insane.
Did we do that in January? That wasn't December?
We did. No, it was January.
Does January not feel like it was 6 weeks ago?
It feels like
that recording feels like it was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Insane. One of the most favorite conversations I've had.
For sure.
Not just on Culture Garden, but in all podcast spaces. So shout out to
period.
them. Obviously, we want to make sure we highlight the awards. 18 total films.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Covering 6 categories. All right. So the awards are much larger categories, or a lot more categories, should I say. We get into most of the acting things. There are probably a couple things that we'll talk about. Maybe we can include next year. I started thinking about screenplay. Maybe. I don't know. We'll discuss it. Either way, we're covering 6 categories altogether, which means, like I said, School of myself and Rachel watched 18 total films.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about if we watch all 18 or what we didn't get to on the list. Last year, if you remember, on our 24th, Origin wasn't out at the time. I don't think anybody saw Origin. And it's funny because Rachel and myself, a few months later, ended up covering that as its own standalone episode.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Ingenue, who bodied it. Incredible film. But I want to talk about what we saw and some more things about that. But the categories, just so everybody's aware, we're going to be discussing Outstanding Ensemble Cast, Outstanding Breakthrough Performance, Outstanding Directing, Outstanding Supporting Performance, Outstanding Lead Performance, and of course, Outstanding Film. I want to know, let's just get right into it. I'm going to list these films. And the way I did it was this, 18 films total.
Yeah.
I listed them in the user ratings. So if you're familiar with our podcast, you know at the very end of the episode, we talk about user ratings. I listed them from lowest to highest. So we'll go from 18 to 1.
Ooh.
And actually, before we even get into this, let's have this conversation right now. Because Rachel and myself has slightly spoken about it, and as well as myself in school.
Yeah.
School, we'll start with you. What were your overall thoughts on the selection of films for 2024?
The selection was mediocre to say the least.
Mm.
I believe it was some great performances, but
Yeah.
movie wise, sheesh, it's not too
Mhm.
many of them that I'm coming back to. Maybe two.
That's gonna be part of the conversation we have in a second. Rachel,
Yeah.
what about you?
Same. I won't even say mediocre. Um, but what I will say is that I didn't love everything that we saw.
Mhm.
Some things I'm never pressing play on again. And I'm trying to be mindful of, Black stories.
Yes, I, I,
Yeah,
I hear you. I hear you.
for sure. This is. Go ahead, Rachel. My
I was,
bad.
I was gonna say, but just there are some things that I am just never, ever, ever um going to play again. Didn't necessarily see the need for the story, but just because it's not for me doesn't mean it's not for somebody.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
You both said it perfectly. I feel the same way as far as my excitement towards the films. Right. It
Yeah,
wasn't as, I don't think fun is the correct word here, but there were films that seemed more of a chore than an
For
enjoyment
sure.
of watching them.
yeah,
For
Compared
yeah,
to
sure.
last year when we talked about the 24th, a lot of those films, even though I didn't know about them, as I got into them, I'm like, all right, I'm in. And some of
Yeah.
these
yeah,
just felt like, man, all right, who is this for? Maybe I'm not the target audience. And it made me start thinking, this is what we fought for, right?
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So shout out to Cordell. Um, yeah, shout out to Cordell. I made a joke with him about the Fighting Temptations being nominated for outstanding film back
Yeah,
in 2004, 2005 at like the, I don't know if that would have been like the fifth or sixth Black Reel Awards.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
said like there were slim pickings. And now I'm looking at the
Mhm.
list. I'm like, this is exactly what we have moved on from, right? We
Yes.
fought to make sure we had a space to tell our stories, and
Mhm.
now we have them. So to Rachel's point, absolutely want to be mindful, but
Yeah,
that means that now that we have a wider selection, there aren't the quote unquote gatekeepers that are handpicking the ones that they know are going to be hits. Some
right.
of them we're just going to put it out there and let it see. And I thought about it particularly, and I know we'll talk about it, Blitz.
Mm.
And here's my overall thoughts on it, right? So as I'm watching Blitz, I knew right away that film was not for me.
For
Yeah,
But I
sure.
also appreciated knowing who the director was as far as Steve McQueen and everything else. I knew that story was probably important to him, and it probably hit home with a lot of Black Brits. And I
yeah,
also thought at the same time, I said, you know what? I bet the way I look at Blitz is the same way they look at a movie like We Grown Now. Like they don't care about the Cabrini Projects. They don't
right.
care about these two Black kids in Chicago. I'm sure
Mhm.
it's just a story where they looking at it like whatever.
Yeah,
And I just think
Okay.
that the variety of what we have is the same thing. And there are some good stories in there, but I do miss, and we talked about it a little bit, I do miss having one of them days. Films like that
For
where
mhm.
it's
sure.
just
Yeah,
feel good, go to the theater. You don't, films are just told so differently now. And
yeah,
I'm always down with a message. And I know films like that would never even be nominated for, an awards.
Why
Um,
wouldn't it be?
just the way that the awards, I'm not talking about Black Wheels in particular. I mean the
Oh,
way awards ceremonies work.
yeah,
They look
okay.
at certain films and they say this is an award film versus this is just a feel good movie.
yeah,
Like, but I think it should change, right? I think
For
that
sure.
there's no reason why you can't tell me that Robert Downey Jr. shouldn't have been nominated for Tony Stark at some point during that Marvel run.
For
yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
That's how good the performance was. But that's not
Mhm.
that's what I mean. That's not a awards film. So
Hmm.
you
Absolutely.
know
I got
beforehand.
you.
And I think that needs to change, honestly. I think it needs to be more so what are the people talking about? And that's part of the reason why we're here, because we want to talk about the Black Reel Awards and also give our thoughts.
For
So,
sure. To your exact point, I think that is the purpose of Black Reel.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Tyler Perry, he's here. He's always going
Yeah,
to be represented in a
Hmm.
Black space. But during the Oscars, so white, dare I say, fiasco, he was very adamant, like, build your own tables so that
yeah,
all of our movies can be movie award movies.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that what is it, one of those days or one of them days was submitted for next year, in their
Yeah,
film
I hope so
festival.
too.
Hopefully. Um, because yeah. again, and you really made me think about sort of my outlook on some of the films that I just did not enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock on that. I guess to clarify, I think for so long we were pigeonholed into making one of them days
Mm-hmm.
when we really wanted to make We Grown Now.
Yeah.
And I
Sure.
think that
For
now
sure.
that we have the opportunity, we're seeing a lot more. So I think we even had the conversation. I think Tim mentioned it like, hey, some of these movies aren't the Friday night, let's grab a pizza and watch
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's just those movies aren't around as much, but we are
Yeah.
getting great storytelling. And I don't want things to be confused. Like we're getting some great storytelling. And as we get into these movies, just so people out there listening know exactly where our thoughts are on things, I want to go through these. I mentioned it. I ranked them from 18 to 1 based on user ratings that we always use for our episodes. The question I'm going to ask both of you as we go, I'm going to ask you if you watched the movie in preparation for this episode and if you would watch it again.
Okay.
Cool? All right.
Yep.
So, Rachel, we'll start with you. And then
Yeah.
obviously I'll say the movie. We'll start with Rachel. School, you give your answer as well. I'll give
Okay.
my answer. We'll keep them moving.
Got it.
So the lowest rated film, 5.5 out of 10. It's also the film that leads the Academy Awards and nominations. Emilia Perez has 13 Academy Awards nominations, but it has a 5.5 user rating. Now, let me say this as a caveat. These are user ratings, not critics'
Mhm.
ratings.
For
Yeah.
If
sure.
you've been keeping up with Emilia Perez, then you might know about the controversy about old statements of hate, bigotry, transphobic, the whole nine that are coming from the lead actor in that movie. And I don't know how many of these ratings are people going to trash it on purpose. It's no different than, hey, we found out you have a racist establishment. We're going to give your Yelp reviews all once. I don't know how much of that is I don't like the movie or not. But School, I know the answer for you. Or actually, we said we'll start with Rachel. Rachel, did you watch Emilia Perez?
I did watch Emilia Perez.
Would you watch it again?
No.
School, I know you did not watch Emilia Perez, correct?
Yeah, I did not watch it. Due to my illness, my blindness, and too many subtitles for me. I couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy it.
Subtitle. Yeah, I didn't watch the trailer for it, and it's funny because I kind of live texted Rachel within the first 10 to 15 minutes.
Mhm.
And I literally just said, I saw Zoe Saldana start dancing in the street, and it looked like she was getting in formation. And I texted Rachel, like, yo, what, is this a musical? Like, she just got in formation in the middle of the street while she was talking about this case. She said, yes, it is indeed a musical. I'm like, oh, shit. I like the originality of it. I like the film. Questions about what was going on in the writer room. Like, I have questions overall about that. There's another movie that I'll bring up as well, but I'm not mad at it. I understand. I don't understand how it led the Oscars and nominations.
I do not understand that either. But I will say I hated the first maybe 30 minutes, but afterwards I was in.
That's fair. Yeah, I was in. I was into it. It's just I'll answer the second question. I would not watch it again either. So that's just kind of is what it is. Whatever. Second film, Blitz. Controversy aside, yeah, I just don't. I got questions more than anything. It's one of those films where if I knew a little bit about who wrote it and their intent, then maybe it'll make sense. Because if I say that Emilia Perez, if you haven't seen it, folks, if I told you the premise, like if I just gave you the dumbed down synopsis of the film, you would be like, "What?"
Yeah, that's what happened with me.
And I talked to School about this, and we watch Entourage a lot, and I just said if I pitched this, if I went to a studio and pitched this idea, they'd be like, "Huh? What do you mean?" Like, hold on, I got questions. That's kind of how it was, but it was not a bad movie at all.
Yeah,
and the acting was like, I understand Zoe Saldana getting nominated in the whole nine. I thought I had the number of nominations for each film written down, but maybe I don't. So it is what it is. Either way, the next film on our list is Blitz. Rachel, did you watch it?
Yes.
Would you watch it again?
Watched it. Will never watch it again.
School.
Watched it. Will never watch it again.
Trips. Watched it. Will never watch it again. I was telling School, I don't give a fuck what happens to little Georgie.
Yeah, not at all.
Right. I know these are real events, so I'm trying to be sensitive to the fact that these are based off of real events during a real time and people experience this.
Yeah.
Once again, I respect the fact that that's a story that Steve McQueen wanted to tell, and I understand his connection to it and the importance to it. Didn't give a fuck about little George if he got blown up, if he drowned in that little river. I don't care about none of it. I don't care if you ever made it home. I'm sorry, Georgie. I just don't care. The one character I actually did care about.
Yep, we talked about that. The one character.
The black soldier. Like, it just is what it is. Like, respect to the filmmaking and the passion behind it. I would never, ever watch Blitz again.
Nope.
Ever. Blitz is what I thought Chevalier was going to be last year.
Yes, bro. I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to say, I don't think there was one of those movies where I was just like, oh shit. I was taken aback. Like, this is fire. Like, didn't have that this year.
I don't know. You might have one. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Okay.
All right. Third movie. Like I said, we're going from worst to best. Third movie we have is Shirley. Actually, let me just say there were 4 movies at a 6.2. Blitz was the first one. Shirley was a 6.2. Bob Marley One Love was a 6.2. And The Piano Lesson was a 6.2.
Okay.
All of those movies, once again, I'll say Shirley, Bob Marley, and Piano Lesson. Rachel, did you watch all 3? And would you watch any of them again?
Watched all 3. Would watch Shirley and Piano Lesson again. I would probably press play on One Love, but
don't need to. I get it. School, what about you? Did you watch all 3?
I watched all 3. I would definitely press play on Shirley again. And the Bob Marley, man. I don't think there was enough. There was so much more to tell about Bob. A lot of shit missing. So I definitely understand it. But I would definitely watch it again. But The Piano Lesson is one that I no thank you.
Watched all 3. I would watch all 3 again. You can tell The Piano Lesson is a play.
For sure.
You watch that film?
Oh yeah.
For sure.
That's one of the more. There's been a ton of plays that have been adapted into films. Piano Lesson is spot on. You almost feel a little bit like you're watching a play. And we'll talk about it when we get to performances and outstanding lead performance and John David Washington. But I 1,000% will watch that again, as well as Bob Marley. And I think biopics are now in a space where you kind of have to focus on one particular moment and have the movie around that. The days of from birth to end of life biopics, I think, are done. Like you're going to do that in a documentary or a 6-8 episode miniseries.
Absolutely.
If you're making a film, you want to talk about. If they did Ali today, Ali would be about the Rumble in the Jungle, the Thriller in Manila, right? It would be about that, and maybe not about anything else, just about leading up to that. And maybe spend 2 hours in a specific moment versus everything else.
And What's up, I hate that. I think that does a disservice to the story.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. That. That's
it does. Agreed. That's the issue. But I do see them starting to lean more that way. I just think that the medium of television now is being used to a way that I don't think anybody ever thought was possible 20, 25 years ago. We've said this before.
Absolutely not. Shout out to the Sopranos for helping change TV.
Yeah, and we've said this numerous times. Like all the good stories, air quotes, are being moved to television. I think they would just take more of his life and maybe stretch it out a little bit with a series versus I got 2 hours. Let's make something happen.
Yeah,
and I appreciate it. And I actually was. Go ahead. We'll talk about it in the snubs. But go ahead, School.
But yeah, I definitely agree. And like you said, the moment, and then they do little things like flashbacks and kind of try to keep you in the loop of how they started. And so yeah, I'm with you, man. That it definitely had me like, well, damn, when did he become a star? What was his first hit? Like,
right?
I'm not very fluent on Bob Marley's history, so I was definitely like, I thought I was going in and learning some shit, but yeah.
All right. Well, at number 13, a surprise hit, I think, between the 3 of us.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll talk about it. Number 13 at the 6.5, Blink Twice.
Yeah.
Rachel, did you watch? Would you watch it again?
I have watched Blink twice, and I have watched it at least twice.
School, what about yourself?
Yes, sir. Watched it twice. That's my shit. I fucks with it.
I watched it. And I'll be honest, the first watch was a little bit disturbing. Not because of the film, it was the realization that this shit really happens.
Yes.
For sure.
And the question of why did you make this film? I almost felt like whistleblowing a little bit, and it started making me wonder, like, why did you make this film? Like, because hopefully nobody comes up missing. But once I got past that, absolutely, I enjoyed it. It's different.
Yeah.
Definitely creepy and a little bit weird. And you're like, damn,
For sure.
I don't ever want to be a part of that. But yeah, shout out to Blink twice. Number 12, we have The Gladiator. Gladiator 2 at 6.6 out of 10. Rachel, you watch it?
Have seen it. Just watched it for the second or third time last night.
Did you watch the original?
Nope.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Let me ask you, did you watch Gladiator 2? Did you like Gladiator 2?
I loved it. And maybe it's the Denzel of it all, but I loved it.
Perfect. That's the reason why I wanted to know if you watched the original. School.
I watched it. I don't think I'll watch it. I don't think I'll watch it again. It's to me, it's the same movie. It's the exact same movie as the first one.
It's literally the same movie as the first one, except for it's not as good.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to know what you. Oh yeah, it's the same. No, it's the. If you watch the first one, Rachel, you're gonna be like, oh shit, like this is the same movie.
Same.
Interesting. Okay.
But the first one, and this is one of the issues. I've said this before. Don't give me that sequel 20-something years later, because so many people are attached to the original. The original is some people. I've met people where The Gladiator is their favorite movie.
Me too.
They just get into the whole spirit of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have something like that sit for 24 years and then try to make a sequel, even if you have somebody who's larger than life like Denzel, and you have incredible acting like Pedro Pascal, and everyone else in it, you still can never compete with that first legacy. It's no different than when people still try to bring up, hey, they should make another Friday. Like, no, for what? Like, it's not. What are we doing it for?
Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie. I understand people who don't like it as much because they stuck on the original. It's kind of hard to give it a fair grading because people are comparing it to something else.
Got it.
But I have watched it, and I have watched it twice. And I will watch it again because I'm one of those people. If I'm watching Gladiator, I'm naturally going to watch Gladiator 2 right after this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not watching Belly 2. I'll watch it. You know what I mean?
You should.
Some movies, for the most part.
Go ahead.
I like State Property 2. I'm watching those back to back. Like, no question asked. No questions asked. So, shout out to The Gladiator. I think that was was that 12, 13?
Yes.
12.
All right. What was that right? 18. All right, number 12. At 6.7, the 688. Rachel.
Saw it, watched it once. We'll press play again.
Same. I watched it once, and I would definitely press play again.
Same exact thing. Actually, was very impressed with the 688.
Me too.
For sure.
And I will 100% watch this again. I will watch this again. No questions asked. Shout out to Tyler Perry and the entire cast who did their thing with that. Number 11, we have We Grown. Actually, 3 movies came in at 6.8s. All right, so this is actually number 9 through 11, 11 through 9, however you want to look at it. We Grown Now, Unstoppable, The Fire Inside. I will say, and I said this immediately because I watched them very early on into this rewatch process. The Fire Inside and Unstoppable are the same movie, in my opinion.
Yes.
They're pretty much the same exact movie.
Yeah.
So just change the sport, change the setting. You kind of get the gist from top to bottom. Different performances, but they're the same movie. And then, of course, We Grown Now, which honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, was a dud to me. We Grown Now was a dud to me.
Yeah. First off, I'm going to press play anything Johnny Smollett is attached to just because she is my girl. Again, what is this for?
Listen.
What are we talking about here? Okay, you moved away.
Listen,
Y'all are doing some very dangerous activities. I understand. I thought that they were going to get more into the history of Cabrini Green. I don't know. Like, what the fuck are we watching? And I watched all of these very early on, like over being home for Christmas. So, yeah.
This is one of those films I was talking about. Like, just Journey did her thing. Great performance, and we grown now. But I remember when this first dropped, Moms and Lil Sis hit me with it. Like, I don't know what the hell. I left the theaters like, what the hell was that? Like, what am I supposed to gain from this? Like, so yeah, I wasn't very intrigued.
I was very impressed by the young man, the actor. I think that's somebody I'm gonna have my eye out on as far as his performances. Blake Cameron James. I just think for being that age and being in that control of a role and being that comfortable around the camera, I was impressed by that. But I just don't know what they were trying to tell us. I don't know. It felt very personal as whoever wrote it. Like they just wanted to tell that story and didn't really care about who was a part of it. Journey Smollett, who was nominated last year, I think she actually won. Maybe School picked her, if not both of you picked her for supporting in The Burial.
Yeah.
So shout out to her. She bodied this role. Like she did her thing. Thought the grandma did her thing. I left the ending like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
We can keep it pushing. So yeah, I've seen it. This is not one I think I'll see again. What about either one of you? Are you gonna watch this again?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
I'm not watching any of these again, unfortunately, this batch.
Like the three that we just mentioned?
The three, yeah.
And that's funny, and this is more so a personality thing. I definitely will watch the Fire Inside again.
I was going
to say, but I understand. It's funny, Rachel. I saw the Fire Inside New Year's Day, 2025 in theater, and as I'm watching it, I was telling myself, I'm never going to see this again. Not because I disliked it, I just didn't need to. And then as the movie picked up, and I look at Brian Tyree and his performance, I'm like, you know what? There's something in this that I can draw from at some point.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling down, if I need a little, shout out to Ryan Destiny who bodied this. If I ever need a little bit of pick me up, maybe I can watch it. It's a little bit too long, which we talk about from time to time.
Yeah,
a little bit too long for me. And the same with Unstoppable. It is the same exact movie. How do I want to say this? I'll just say it. Fuck it. Sometimes J-Lo just deducts a couple points for me. I don't know what it is, man. Shout out to J-Lo, but not really. Like sometimes when it comes to her acting, I can do without.
Most things.
Don Cheadle. Go ahead.
I want to see Jarrell Jerome in something light.
Yeah, because he was in the last, not The Last of Us, but
When They See
Central
Us.
Park 5. What's that? Yeah, When They See Us. Thank you.
When They See Us.
That's a great point, Rachel. I would love to see him in something light, so where it's not so heavy. But I did enjoy the film. I love a feel good, and that's what I said when they're the same movie. You know how the movie's going to end. You know they go through adversity, obstacles, everything else. And they're both off of real people. They're both based off real story. They're not original screenplays. So watching them almost back to back was very interesting. I will watch both of those again. I probably won't watch Regrown Now unless I feel like I missed something. It's almost, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Rachel and myself were going to do last May or June or so. We were discussing doing The Last Black Man in San Francisco. And we watched it and we both were like, nah.
No,
and
I watched it first.
Yeah, you did. You did watch it first. You definitely watched it first.
And rarely will I, after watching a film, especially one that I've never seen, will I be like, hey, yo, let's reconsider this. Have you watched this? What the fuck is up with this movie?
I say all that. My fault. I was going to say, I say all that to say, the only reason I would go to Regrown Now is because we got a message from Christina. Shout out to Culture Garden family. Christina, who grew up in the Bay, and that movie reminded her a lot of it. And she tried to, she sent voice notes and was pretty much like, hey, experiencing this is a different thing than just watching it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and watch that movie because I know I missed something. And I said that. Me and Rachel actually both said that even when because we recorded the Equalizer, I think, in its place.
I think so.
And I think both of us ended up saying, like, we know we missed something. We know there's something there because too many people like this movie, but neither one of us got it. So I was gonna revisit it. Maybe we grown out, it's the same thing. Maybe one day I'll be like, you know what? Maybe I was caught up in the reviewing this for the awards recap instead of watching it as a standalone. So who knows? But I probably won't.
Yeah.
So we're getting into the top 7, folks. We have one more movie that's in the 6s, and that lets you know this group. Like I said, shout out to everybody involved and who created these films and directed. This is worth the strongest batch. You can tell by the user ratings, right? We're still in 6s and we're out the top 7. So number 7, Saturday Night, 6.9 out of 10. Rachel, did you watch it? Would you watch it again?
Watched it. Will watch again at least once.
School.
I watched it. I definitely will watch it again. I definitely think it was very interesting. Listen, I think me and you had that combo when you told me before I watched it that I can't remember the gentleman's name, but
Garrett Morris.
Garrett Morris.
Well, the guy who was playing Garrett Morris.
LaShawn Morris, I think is his name.
Yeah, I know Stan, nigga.
Lamorne Morris, my bad.
Lamorne, yeah, he didn't have enough screen time.
Yeah.
So I watched it, but I knew I wouldn't consider it for anything or anything of that nature. So
yeah, it wasn't. I understand the nomination, but I knew right away he wasn't gonna get it. So it was just more of a watch for me. Shout out to Saturday Night. I will watch it again. I did enjoy it, but it is what it is. We get into the top 6, 7.0 out of 10. And now we're getting into some of the outstanding films. So you can save some of your thoughts on these until we get into the category. So just want to know, did you watch it? Would you watch it again? Exhibiting Forgiveness. Rachel. That comes in at number 6.
Yes, watched it. We'll watch again.
School.
Yes, and yes.
Same. Watched it. We'll watch it again. One of my favorite watches. We have 2 movies that's 7.1. One is very, very interesting. It echoes something I said earlier. I just have questions about some of the things that I saw on screen. One of the movies coming in at 7.1 and number 5 is going to be Challengers. Go ahead, watched it.
I don't know that I'm gonna watch it again. Maybe if it's still on Delta in movie or in flight, I might hit it again, but I didn't get it. No.
Yeah, I'm with y'all. I watched it. I think this was the first movie I might have watched for this. And I didn't understand. It was like you said, maybe it's something I'm missing. I don't know. I'm still speechless. Like,
and I watched it obviously, and will I watch it again is an interesting question. There were just things that happened in the movie that I don't know why they were there.
Yeah.
For sure.
I didn't know if there was a deeper meaning behind it. Like sometimes, are you exposed is not the right word. Are you bringing awareness to a culture within tennis?
Yeah.
Or is this just some shit you wanted to write in a movie?
And
I don't know which one it is.
I don't know.
I don't know if this movie was more so about that, or was it more so about someone like Zendaya's character, which Zendaya absolutely smoked this role.
For sure.
I don't know if it was more about her character being in control and having the command of these 2 guys and maybe living her life through tennis in a way versus human beings. There's many ways you can look at it.
Yeah.
I'll be real. I will watch it again. But this is another one I need to look up. I want to learn more about the movie, and maybe I can understand it a little bit better if I don't blindly go into it.
I'll say this. It's definitely one of those, and this happens to me every blue moon. Sometimes I'll watch a movie like that, and I'll get on YouTube and I'll just look it up, and you'll have those people that deep dive and break down shit in movies where you're just like, oh, okay, that's why. Because this might be one of them. Like maybe I should do a breakdown of Challengers. Find somebody on YouTube.
And not to mention, that's a great point. Listen, I go to the Cincinnati Western Southern Open.
Oh yeah,
I can't even tell you how many times. Like, so having personal effects in it, like when they mention Cincinnati in that film and the Western Cincinnati Open's a big deal.
Yep.
Like it's a big deal, and school knows. Like me, moms, big sis, they're big tennis fans, like big time. Like I was at the last one. I was at last year's Western Southern Open. So every August you can catch me there.
Like 4.
Yeah, I've been to multiple, right? I've seen Serena there. Like I've been going since Serena was playing, Federer, like early 2010s. Like I've been in the building almost annually. So it's always good to see things like that. And I relate to tennis and I understand tennis. It was more so the inner workings, home wrecking, and everything else that was involved that I was just curious about. But whatever. The other movie that came in at a 7.1, number 4 on the list, Nickel Boys. Rachel, did you watch it? Would you watch it again?
Okay. I watched Nickel Boys. I might watch it again for understanding's sake. Once I knew that it was based off of a book by, I think, Colson Whitehead, I'm actually more interested in the book than I am maybe of the film, because I'm familiar with some of his writings. Underground Railroad is very, very, very good. And I think that he is an essentially a cultural writer. I think Nickel Boys is one of the books that is banned under this current administration, quote unquote. I had to Google after I watched it what the fuck I watched. So I'm actually very interested in the book, and maybe having that understanding, I'll revisit the movie. But on its own, without that, I don't know if I'm gonna do that.
Understood. What about you, School?
I watched it. I was very surprised by it. But I doubt I'll watch it again. It's one of them mood movies, like, and I don't see myself being in that mood ever again. So I'll pass.
That's fair. I watched it in theaters. I will watch it again. I'll save more thoughts when we get to outstanding film.
Okay.
We get to the top 3. Also, I want to let it be known, Nickel Boys led the Black Reel Awards in nominations this year. I believe they had 12 or 13. Okay. They had 13. Piano Lesson had 12. Those are the only 2 films with double-digit nominations this year. Top 3, 7.3 out of 10. Hard Truths. Rachel, not your cup of tea.
Oh, God. Watched it, will not watch again. It made my ears hurt.
School.
Watched it. We'll watch it. We'll watch it again and again.
Watched it. Watch it in theaters. We'll watch it again. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll watch it again. Not a lot. But I will watch it again.
Oh no, it's definitely it's even one of those movies that you could turn off at a certain point. Like, all right, let me turn this off.
Yeah, it's a break. It's yeah.
Man, hell no.
We'll talk about it. We have more areas where we talk about it. Wicked at number 2 spot. Wicked, 7.6 out of 10. Rachel, I already know the answer for both of these.
Watched it twice, was mad I didn't buy it, and it's available on Peacock in a few short weeks.
Yeah. I know you'll watch it again too. School, what about you?
Sure.
Watched it, enjoyed it. We'll watch it again. My wife is a diehard Wizard of Oz fan. So I'm gonna watch it again. I know just for part 2 anyway. So
for sure.
Hell yeah, for sure.
Sadly, this is the only film on the list that I did not watch. I missed the theater. I'll be honest with everyone. I was intimidated by the runtime, and it became one of those things where I said I was going to do it, and then I looked up, and it was in theaters forever.
Yeah,
it was in theaters forever, and then finally, when I was ready to go to the theaters, it was gone, and I was going to rent it, which almost would have been better because I can kind of segment things out. I can watch it maybe in 2 watchings. Yeah. And I just didn't get time, just became too much. And I said, you know what? I know School and Rachel watch this. I'm going to lean on them. I'm gonna watch it at some point. I just didn't watch it for it, so I can't get too much on it. But I will watch it. Did not watch it, but will. It is on the list.
I told you too, bro. I think you will be surprised. Like, I don't think you're gonna feel that 3 hours like you think you will.
Yeah, you don't.
Probably not. Listen,
you really don't.
Listen. Yeah, I believe it. Listen, I watch Harry Potter. You know, so I watch Star Wars.
Straight
like, you know
up.
what I mean? There's no way I could watch that and not want to watch Wicked or enjoy Wicked and what it is. So
Yeah.
I get it. And lastly, the number one rated film based on from the users out of these 18 that we watched, Sting Sing came in at 7.7 out of 10. Rachel, would you watch it again? And did you watch it to begin with?
I watched it. I will watch it again. Just Coleman put on a beautiful performance. School. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what they're laughing at.
I watched it, and I will watch it again because I fairly enjoyed Clarence Martin. And Coleman did his thing too, but I definitely enjoyed Clarence Martin for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, perfect. We just kind of gave a quick rundown of the 18 that we talked about, gave our thoughts on them, plus what the rest of the users in the world are thinking of them. So, once again, not the same type of list. It would have been very easy. And I think one thing, and like I said, not to make this about, in real time, I'm looking for it because I know I had it out earlier. Not to make it about the past, but I was looking at the 24th annual list. And I think one of the biggest differences as we were watching it, and I mentioned the word earlier where sometimes it kind of felt like a chore. We had more films to break up the monotony, where I felt like a lot of these films were in the same tone. Kind of, I'm not telling the same story, but they were the same tone. Where last year I could watch a Rustin, but I also could turn around and watch Creed 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I could watch Origin, and I could turn around and watch Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Like they were so different as far as what I'm delivering, and like I can watch Color Purple, and I can turn around and watch American Fiction.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If I wanted something that's kind of, I can watch Chevalier, which is a film I never thought I'd watch. I can dive into 1001 and get this great New York story.
Yeah.
For sure.
And just be so invested into these characters. And I just didn't feel that same way this year. You know, and I'm curious for all y'all out there, let us know. Comment, write us, DM. Let us know if you felt the same way about these films, if you watched any of them, and if they made the same kind of impact on you. So you gonna say something, School? My bad.
Nah, I was gonna say if we tripping, let us know. Shit.
Yeah, we tripping. Let us know. Let us know, man. So last year we talked about we're gonna get into categories right now. Before I do, I guess I do want to shout out the nominations. Just so overall for the entire show, not just what we're covering. I just want to give the nominations out. Nickel Boys got 13, as I mentioned. Piano Lesson with 12. After that, Exhibiting Forgiveness had 9 nominations. Blink Twice with 7. Sing Sing with 6. The Fire Inside, Hard Truths, and We Grown Now had 5 nominations. Bob Marley, One Love had 4. You had Blitz, Daughters, Amelia Perez, Piece by Piece. Really good movie, by the way. Shirley, Wicked, and The Wild Robot with 3. And then you had 2 nominations for The Book of Clarence, Challengers, Luther, Never Too Much. Highly recommend. Mufasa, The Lion King, 9, Saturday Night, Seeking Mavis Beacon, and The 6888. Shout out to the Black Real Awards for everything that you do and for highlighting all these things. Let's go ahead and talk about these categories. Now, I do want to say a quick caveat. The Black Real Awards pick an overall winner when it comes to the acting categories. It's not like a best actor, best actress. Go back and listen to our episode we had in January about why they came to that decision.
Yeah.
Just to make sure they're keeping up with the times. Last year, we chose best actor, best actress. And as I was thinking about it, y'all, obviously we'll pick our best overall, but maybe just pick our second best. Mainly because some of these categories, like I think there's the outstanding lead or outstanding supporting has 7 women and 3 men. Like I want to talk. I don't want to discredit anyone who was a beast. Like just because you're the second best woman doesn't mean you're not the second best overall. I don't want to give it to one of these 3 men and make them the second best or give them an award when they might have been the 6th best performance out of everybody in that category. So I think overall, let's just go ahead and talk about who we would have picked if we agree with the winners and, you know, what we struggled on. Because there were a couple where I'm still, honestly, it's going to depend on y'all conversation on who I pick.
Okay.
All right. And if you're not familiar, the smaller categories, not smaller, but the non-acting categories. So when we talk about outstanding film, outstanding directing, those are going to have 5 nominations. Outstanding breakthrough, outstanding supporting, all of those have 10. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first category. The first category is outstanding ensemble cast. The nominees: Hard Truths, Nickel Boys, The Piano Lesson, Sing Sing, Exhibiting Forgiveness. Ray P, do you
Exhibiting
want the winner
forgiveness.
first? Do you want the
Oh
winner
yeah,
first?
give me
Or
the winner. Give us
do
the
y'all want
winner,
the
and
winner?
I'll
Okay.
tell you. Yeah.
The Black Reel Award went to The Piano Lesson for Best
Okay.
Ensemble Cast. Rachel, it sounds like you're going with Exhibiting Forgiveness.
I'm going Exhibiting Forgiveness, but Piano Lesson very, very, very close second for me.
School, what about you?
I would have went Piano Lesson as well, but I definitely give Exhibiting Forgiveness that second place.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the winner, Piano Lesson. It's just hard to look at that cast over and over. Do I want to get my thoughts now? Yeah, let's go ahead and get my thoughts now because this person's not in my running for outstanding lead. There were moments where John David Washington was just a bit performative to me. Now, I know that's what his role called for. And you know what I thought of immediately, Rachel? I thought about our Malcolm and Marie episode. And I remember our discussion where we had moments where we both were like, all right, bruh, like you going on these rants and these tangents, like chill out. And then I thought about it on a deeper level because I was like, you know what? The one thing that is familiar between those two films, Malcolm and Marie and Piano Lesson, we know the Piano Lesson is adapted from a play. Like Malcolm and Marie you could have, huh?
I said by August Wilson. Go ahead.
Yeah. Malcolm and Marie easily, you could have told me that's based off a stage play as well, and I'd have believed it because there's only 2 actors, small setting. It felt like you were in the theater and you're watching these two play out on stage. That looks like going to a play. So I'm like, maybe it's these type of films of where I'm thinking that about him because I've seen him in other things, of course, and I haven't felt the same thing. But it's just moments where you go on these tangents and it's like, yo, are you a real person? Are you really doing all this right now? Like you just the character, not him, but the character just seems to be his characters seem to be doing the most sometimes. So it's like, yo, relax.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the character. I'm sorry, School. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I think we probably about to say the same thing. I think that was just his character. Yeah. Period. His character seemed like that type of dude that just was doing the most. Period. Always on that line, that cusp, like
that neurotic behavior. But I think you're maybe a little put off because it's John David. You know who actually would have eaten this role alive?
Who?
What's Megan Good's fiance's name?
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors. He would have devoured
that. But it's funny. You first of all, you're right. Because let's not forget.
Hell of an actor.
I was just about to say, bad. Before everything that happened with Jonathan Major, Jonathan Major is
elite
at what he does. Like he still, comeback tour is coming. Happy to see that. I think he has a lot great performances coming up.
Yeah.
But even that kind of goes in the same vein where you see people in a certain way. We've already decided as a culture, Jonathan Majors was born in the wrong era.
Yeah,
he's a thespian and he loves that. I think he fits well in that era.
He has
that talking about something like imagine if they meet. Me and Rachel have had some fun with the recasting of certain movies. But if they came out today and said we're redoing Eve's Bayou, there's 100% Jonathan Majors in it.
Oh yeah,
he's playing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it. That time period piece that he'd be perfect in it. He would have smoked that. You're right, Rachel. So you have a good point. And I say that not to down John David Washington's performance. I didn't have anything wrong with it. I just think that I saw 2 performances that I thought that I thought were similar. Then I started thinking about why I thought that. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's because of the type of film it is versus the actual performance. So both of you are making the point that I'm trying to get to, which is not against him. It just felt like that character that he is playing just seems to be a little bit much where maybe I want to see something a little reserved. But even Ricky on Ballers was doing the most. Like, bro, chill out, relax. Like, so I don't know.
I wonder if John David is extra in his real life, and maybe that's something that we're seeing play out.
You might be right.
Maybe a little typecasting or cast
It
typing. I
could
always
be.
get them confused.
No, you're
Typecast.
right. You're right. You're right. But the winner, like we said, so shout out to Samuel Jackson, who played Doker, John David Washington, Boy Willie, Danielle Deadweiler, who played Bernice, Ray Fisher, Lyman, Corey Hawkins, Avery, Michael Potts, Wanting Boy. No surprise, they're nominated and won. Shout out to The Wire, Michael Potts, man, Brother Muzone. If you know, you know. Yeah, and even Stephen James, who played Boy Charles. You know, Erica Badu was in that film. Skylar Elise Smith, who played Maritha, I want to give her some shout out, but they actually won the award. Me and School agree, while Rachel is going with Exhibiting Forgiveness. Is that your choice?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and talk about Outstanding Breakthrough Performance. There were 10 nominations. Ryan Destiny, The Fire Inside. Elliot Herfernine, Blitz. Jarrell Jerome, Unstoppable. Ethan Harisi, Nickel Boys. Brandon Wilson, Nickel Boys. Blake Cameron James, We Grown Now. Lamorne Moore's Saturday Night. Naomi Aki, Blink Twice. Ray Fisher, The Piano Lesson. Clarence Macklin, Sing Sing. Rachel, School. The winner for the category for Outstanding Breakthrough was Clarence Macklin, Sing Sing. Who would your choice have been? And your backup choice? Or anybody you had trouble deciding from?
Go ahead, School. Let me go back to my list. Go ahead.
I'm with Clarence on this one. I really enjoyed his performance. I mean, he embodied that role.
He was playing himself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I mean, that shit makes it easy. That's what we talked about with Jeezy. But second choice would be Ray Fisher for me. I really
from Piano Lesson.
Yes.
Lyman?
Yes.
Interesting.
I really enjoyed his acting. I thought he gave me that of Mice and Men George feeling. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he just embodied that to me. You know,
he really did. That's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
Okay.
Ray P?
I am actually going to go. I just lost her name. Naomi Aki from Blink Twice. And then my backup is also Ray Fisher. I didn't feel comfortable giving Jarrell Jerome breakout performance because when they see us, I would consider that more of a breakout role.
Yeah.
Just because of all the notoriety and award seasons that went through. Ryan Destiny was on a show for multiple seasons as one of the main characters. I don't realize. So I didn't agree with those, but those are my top two. Go ahead.
I like those. Same with Ryan Destiny. I thought the same. I had to look. I didn't know. I know it was Star, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Queen Latifah. Was Queen Latifah in that?
Yes.
Her and then
that was
and my apologies. I was gonna say I cannot remember the woman's name, but she was on the first season of White Lotus. Well, she was in that show as well. She was the friend of the family that was messing with Kai. But this was my kind of introduction to her. And it's funny because when you see her dolled up and then see her in the movie, it's like, okay, then really got actually Clarissa Shields, who she played, didn't want her because she didn't think she had the look. Yeah, she didn't think she could really, she didn't have the look. My winner, I'm also going with Clarence Macklin.
Okay.
Slightly. And I hesitate because I do feel you got to do what's called of you, right?
Yeah.
I do feel it's cheating a little bit knowing that he played himself. Like literally Clarence Macklin as himself in the credits.
Yeah.
So part of that is like, all right, the degree of difficulty. But by far, if I wasn't so moved by the performance, I would definitely say Naomi Aki. Like I thought that what she had to do in Blink Twice, the range of emotion she had to show, it almost goes to last year. There was a movie called Talk to Me.
Yeah.
And I think I was the only one last year that watched that.
Mhm.
And I told both of you, like, just the difficulty, right? The degree of difficulty to play that role is the same way I thought with Naomi Ackie, and she did a great job at it.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So she's easily my backup. And you really, honestly, when it comes to awards for me, the real conversation doesn't start until like 4 or 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see what movies still stand the test of time. In 2030. Jeez, Pete, that sounds crazy.
That's insane.
In 2030, when we're looking at these films, which one am I really going back and saying, "Oh snap"? Or who's going to have that career where I look back and say, "Yo, that was the beginning of that." That's what I think about a lot in Breakthrough. So honestly, in real time, you know what? We'll talk about this later in another category.
Okay.
I'll keep my thoughts, but we'll talk about it here in a second. All right. Outstanding directing. 5 nominees. We have Steve McQueen for Blitz.
Boo.
Also, I meant to ask you. I meant to ask both of you. My apologies. Did either one of you have any snubs for the prior categories, whether it be best outstanding ensemble or outstanding breakthrough? Was there anybody you were watching a different movie and was like, "Yo, they should have been nominated"?
No, and I would say mainly I think for what we got, they're right. And based off of our conversation with Tim and Cordell before, if you ain't submit your paperwork,
that's it.
You.
I can't think about you. So no,
Fair.
for me.
Fair. Yep. So outstanding directing, Steve McQueen for Blitz, Zoe Kravitz for Blink Twice, Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys, Malcolm Washington for The Piano Lessons, Titus Kiefer for Exhibiting Forgiveness. I do have a snub for this category.
Okay.
I know you only have 5 slots, but Steve McQueen, pack you up. All due respect, my man's. Put Tyler Perry in that spot. I think Tyler Perry should have been nominated for 6 or 4.
Yeah.
I honestly do.
Fair.
Fair. With that being said, the winner was Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys. Rachel, do you agree, or you would have chosen someone else? And I guess I can go ahead and start.
Go ahead.
Since I already talked about it or kind of let it up and talked about the snub, I'm cool and I agree with Ramel Ross. And the reason is I had never seen a film really told. I'm not going to say it was groundbreaking, but I love what they did with the camera work and the point of views. And the one thing about Nickel Boys to me, actually, let me hold that thought until we get to outstanding films. But I do appreciate the way the story was told and the way we got to experience it as viewers. Can it feel gimmicky after a while? Sure. I get that. But I also appreciate the risk that he was willing to take and the fact that it worked. So I'm in agreement with it. If I had to pick someone else, if it wasn't Ramel Ross, from a directing standpoint, it might be Titus for Exhibiting Forgiveness. I love Exhibiting Forgiveness. We'll talk about it more. But Rachel, are you agreeing with the winner, or do you have someone else?
Low key, I'm gonna take Zoe Kravitz.
Come on,
for Blink Twice, and she's tricky for me. But I just as far as the body of work, I gotta go. Gotta give it to her.
Hey, conversation. So I know that's
why is she around?
Listen, I'm crying because me and Rich had this conversation. And I said the same exact shit. I hadn't finished everything, but I had told Rich, like, man, Zoe might be winning the outstanding director for me. And that's how I feel now. Like, and part of it is I don't really fuck with her. She dogged MJ, and you know how I feel about MJ. I don't play them games. And then had the audacity in the movie to have James Brown all over the fucking place. Like, come on, man. Don't do my dog like that. So.
But yeah, that's your winner, Zoe.
Yeah, I got Zoe.
Who would have been your backups? Who would have been second place for you?
Titus. Sure. Titus. Yeah.
I'll go Titus, but actually, I'm gonna stand with that snub. Because I might give it to Tyler.
Tyler bodied that, man. For as much
as he
y'all
did.
Know how. Yeah, y'all know how we get down, man. Make sure the apologies is loud as disrespect.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know we like to make fun of the Mia Culpas and the divorcing blacks, but when he comes out the 6 888s, make sure you applaud him for what he did, because that was an incredible film.
It was.
And he did a great job with it. And me and School even had the conversation: is it not his best known film or most regarded film? But if you just talk about top to bottom, is it his best film? Like from a film perspective, it might be in the conversation.
Absolutely.
It's not salacious, so it's not a why did I get married or anything like that. But it's an incredible film to watch, and I'll definitely be watching it, like we said again. So yeah, I'm sticking with Ramel Ross. Both of you are going with Zoe Kravitz. I'm not mad at that. Ray P, what's up?
I was gonna say it looks 688 is what we can get from Tyler when he allows other people to also share at the helm, where he's not doing every single thing. You don't have those same plot holes and whatnot that you sometimes get in some of his other works.
Written, directed, starring. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, man. Listen, I get it. And I get it. Like I said, the salacious shit is cool. I get it. I understand it. I like nonsense. I just talked about state property. Talked about Soul Plane on here before. Like, I like the nonsense, but to a certain degree. Outstanding supporting performance. 10 nominees. We'll go through them. Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2. Brian Tyree Henry, The Fire Inside. Did either one of you know who that role was supposed to go to?
No.
It was the person who was originally cast for the role of the trainer was Ice Cube.
Okay, I can see that.
I can see it.
Ice Cube was replaced because he has thoughts on, certain things that were happening at a certain period of time in this country. And chose not to proceed with things that were requested of him, and he was replaced by Brian Tyree Henry. But I definitely could have seen Ice Cube in that role. Lashana Lynch, Bob Marley, One Love. Journey Smollett, We Grown Now. Aunjanue Ellis Taylor, Twice. Nickel Boys and Exhibiting Forgiveness. Brandon Wilson for Nickel Boys. He is the light skin dude. I don't know any way to say it. My fault. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to. Thank you. It's my fault, y'all. My fault. Just trying to make sure everybody's still with us. Zoe Saldana as Amelia Perez. Danielle Deadweiler from The Piano Lesson. Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing. Those are the 10. I do have 2 snubs. And I'm going to replace them. Because if I have to snub somebody, that means somebody got to go. The snubs, honestly, and this might be more of a conversation, Ebony Obsidian as Lena Derricott King in the 688. Listen, I thought Aunjanue smoked it. I could have done without her Nickel Boys.
Yes.
Like once again, we said this before. When you're a legend like her, you're really competing with your past work. I've just seen way too many things that I enjoyed you in more. Not saying your performance wasn't good, because your performance was still better than probably 95% of people out there acting. But I could have just given someone else a different look, especially since you're nominated twice. And I think that was the performance of the 2 that I liked the least. And also, once again, his name goes without saying, Samuel Jackson smoked The Piano Lesson. Like, there's no reason, in my opinion, why he wasn't nominated. If I want to be low-key funny, then maybe I'm saying we can go ahead and remove Zoe. And if you know, you know. But, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Either way, Danielle Deadweiler won for The Piano Lesson.
She's my winner.
Outstanding supporting. She's your winner. School.
Man, you
went with Clarence Macklin again, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I did. He killed it to me, man. He killed it.
I think they set it up perfectly. I'm glad that he was in both categories. I think Breakthrough is absolutely perfect, but Danielle could have done what he did. He couldn't have done what Danielle did.
For sure.
And that's kind of how that was my determining factor, because those were my 2, and I just looked at it like that. Not saying that he couldn't get there, but Danielle just hit another level. I wanted more of her. She could have done a lot more in this film. She's just a force to be reckoned with. That's Clarence would have been my second. The other people that I really kind of went back and forth on, Honestly, it was really just ingenue and exhibiting forgiveness.
Yeah.
Really?
I thought it was pretty. Danielle was pretty much there.
I think
Brian
that
Tyree Henry, I enjoyed his performance. I'm a big Brian Tyree Henry anyway, a fan anyway. Denzel, of course, but once again, Denzel's competing against all of my favorite Denzel performances. So it's kind of unfair for me to ask it, especially when you have a crowd like this. School, you're gonna say something, my bad.
I think I agree with your snubs. I think the conversation would definitely be different with Samuel in here because I definitely would have picked him. I loved his performance in the piano lesson. I think it's been a while since we've seen a docile character played by Samuel Jackson. He was very docile in that role, and I like that.
I feel that. And all joking aside, y'all, and I know Rachel, you about to say something. Zoe Saldana did her thing in Amelia Perez. Like I do,
For
as much as
sure.
I think about the film, like there's a reason she's nominated for outstanding supporting at
For
the
sure.
Academy Awards. Like I
And
want
she
to make sure
nominated
that's
for a
clear if you
song
haven't seen
too.
it. Yeah, like if you haven't seen it, like she smoked it. She smoked it.
For sure.
But Rachel, what you got to say?
Okay, so I definitely had Denzel as my second, or a runner-up, or maybe ingenue in exhibiting forgiveness. But I want to come back to, I do like Ebony Obsidian in 6888 because she plays Karen on Sisters.
My sassy girl.
And this was a much stronger performance to me. She also was in she was one of the sisters with Ingenue Ellis as the mother. What movie is that? Fonnie.
Oh, yeah. She was in Bill Street. If Bill Street could talk.
If Bill Street could talk. But I want to come back to your Sam Jack take, because why would Sam Jack take it and not Denzel if we're comparing them against all their other works?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I ain't said it.
Well, because I just explained it. I think it's the docile point of mine. It's like I haven't seen a role like Samuel play that type of role, not in a very long time, at least that I can remember.
I think the rebuttal would be, and once again, this is your opinion, this is your choice, so I'm not arguing that point of it. I think there's a large crowd that says I haven't seen Denzel in something like this in a long time. And just for reference, just so everybody's clear, because this is insane when you think about it, and I know it's very small, but it's insane. This is Denzel's first supporting role since 2002 in Antoine Fisher.
It's crazy.
22 years, and all you do is take I'm the lead in everything I do. That's insane.
That's Big Zell.
That's Zell.
And that's because and really that's him saying I just like this and I want to do it and I want to work with Ridley Scott again.
Crazy.
It's not because he had to. Like a lot of people have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wanted to. So I just thought that, and he had fun. He talked about how much fun he had. I'm very intrigued with the Denzel conversation in this film because there are people who absolutely are still making a fuss about him not being nominated for an Oscar. Then there's other people like, it was cool. Like I don't feel any middle ground with his performance. People loved it or they were okay on it.
Yeah, I loved it. I was all in on Macronus and all his foolishness.
His nonsense, yeah. If the film was better, I wish the film was better.
Okay.
Honestly. And once again, you wouldn't even know that the film needed to be better unless you watched the original.
Yep.
Which now I'm probably not.
There's different crowds.
Yeah.
So you can tell a lot based off of it. But I don't want to take anything away from Denzel. He could have won, could have easily been second. We already know he's a legend in his own right. Not in his own right, in all rights. And every definition of the word legend, like I don't care how you word it, like he's in it. So shout out to him.
But shout out to Danielle. We're all in on her.
Yeah.
We're all in on Danielle. Sure. Shout out to her, man. Shout out to the piano lesson. 2 more categories and we're out of here. Getting to the nitty-gritty. Outstanding lead performance. So this is the top of the top. 10 nominees. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. Ryan Destiny for The Fire Inside. Marianne Jean Baptiste for Hard Truths. Naomi Ackie, Blink Twice. Kerry Washington, The 6888. Regina King, Shirley. Zendaya, Challengers. John David Washington, The Piano Lesson. Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing. Andre Holland, Exhibiting Forgiveness. I had one person that I thought could be considered a snub. Maybe not really in the grand scheme of things. I get it. But one person I guess I'd say I was surprised wasn't nominated was Kingsley Benadir for Bob
Me
Marley.
too. Me too.
I'm not saying he would have won. I'm just surprised he wasn't nominated. I'm just surprised it wasn't. But obviously they weren't submitted or the voters go, "What's up, Rachel? The accent was fucking with you?"
It was, and I didn't care for his like some of the promo. I felt like he was putting on the Jamaican as more caricature-y in the not necessarily in the film. I thought he did decently with the accent of it all, but just some of the promo felt a little cheesy, and I didn't like it. So I'm not surprised.
I can understand that. And that's the thing. I'm not really pressing it because he wouldn't have been my choice to win. It was just more so when I was watching them, like, you know what, this isn't half bad. I'm surprised he didn't get one of these 10 slots. But as I look through, I'm not sure he's taking it away from. So I'm cool with him not being nominated. We talked about the films maybe not being the greatest this year. The performances were top notch. This was a very difficult category for me to kind of really give a winner to. I'm going to go with my gut. Well, let me tell you the winner. Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths.
Okay.
And that's my this year version of Davon Joy Randolph. As soon as I saw the movie, I said she is going to win. Like, she did an incredible job. What she had to do with her character, suffering through depression, going through her manic episodes, being funny, being miserable, being a wreck, trying to figure it out as the kids say, at her big age, and everything that went into that performance and that role. I left the theater and I said, and this might have been the 5th out of the 10 for this category that I watched. And I just said, all easily. I was searching for a winner, and as soon as I saw her, I was like, that's the winner. It's gonna take somebody else to come and get it. Now, with that being said, here's the other things. Rachel, your face is telling on you. With that being said, Kerry Washington and 6888, incredible performance.
Yes.
Andre Holland,
man,
and Exhibiting Forgiveness, and Coleman Domingo and Sing Sing. Those were the two that I really was like, man, a strong argument can be made that one of these could win this award. Coleman Domingo is just one of those actors anyway. He's getting into that category where he's just good in everything. So you can kind of expect him to win once again, second year in a row for him being nominated for Outstanding Lead.
Yeah.
But Andre Holland is someone I've just been a fan of. He's a leading man, but more of a lesser known leading man.
Yeah.
There have been a lot. He was in Shirley as well. I don't think he should have been nominated for supporting, but he was in Shirley. He's been in a lot of things. I remember High Flying Bird. I've talked about that on this podcast before. Steven Soderbergh. They filmed it on the iPhone. He was the agent in that. I'm a big fan of his work, and I thought he did an incredible job in Exhibiting Forgiveness. I'm sure we'll talk about it more once we get to Outstanding Film. I'm still giving it to Marianne Jean-Baptiste, but to what I said earlier, 5 years from now, I would not be surprised if that answer changes. Not only did Marianne Jean-Baptiste do her thing, I just read an article about how it is a travesty that she was not nominated for an Academy Award.
Yes, I agree.
If you look at her performance, man, she bodied this. Whatever you feel about the film, Rachel, she bodied her performance. What you thinking, Ray P? Did we watch the same movie?
Very much so that, but okay. I hated this movie. I appreciate it for what it is in the story of it all. But do you feel like you're giving? To me, every time I see Marianne, she is somewhat of a troubled character. 28 Days, Takers. There's something else. She's often drug or mentally unstable. So I think you're giving her a lot for something that she does often.
So you're probably right. And the only thing I would say in response to that is I haven't watched any of those movies in quite some time to reference them as I watch the other. Because I've said this, I want to keep it consistent, right? So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say this about Marianne and then say the same thing about John David Washington.
For sure.
And people are like, yo, which is it? Was she Wally Wally or is it one Mike?
Or is it one Mike?
I think I'm not familiar for having seen any of those other works from her recently. Even when you said Takers, I'm like, damn, when's the last time I watched Takers? You know what I mean? So you're probably right. And I'll be honest with you, my gut wants to say Andre Holland, but
Andre Holland is my winner.
But I just don't. I'll never forget. And maybe this is another discussion for another day. I don't know if theater experiences matter, and maybe how you gauge things. Maybe something about not being in the presence of my own home, not having my devices and distractions nearby, but just being locked in for an hour and 40-something minutes with one person and their bullshit that they got going on.
Yeah.
Maybe if I watch that movie at home, I might feel different about it. But I think she bodied it. And I my gut was she killed this. And the only person that really came, even as much as I love Coleman, the only person that really came close was Andre Holland.
And he's my winner.
He's my second. He's my runner-up.
Shout out to Marianne, because I sound a little bit like a hater, but I
No. We know what it is.
Nah. Rich, I couldn't have said it better. I haven't seen 28 Days or Takers in a minute. I got it somewhere in the trash. But I will say this. I watched it at the Critter Dib, and I was locked in, bro, from the jump, you know, and I agree. I think she embodied this role, and I think it's a travesty that she wasn't nominated. Now, with that being said, I agree with your second pick as well, and I think it's a travesty that he wasn't nominated for an Oscar. Like listen, he killed it. He killed it.
Yeah,
I don't think that there's. I think that's the only. Everyone did they think Kerry Washington, but
for sure,
like just far as like that feeling, you know, Andre Holland, like we'll talk about it in film. I don't want to cross over.
Yeah, that's cool. Rachel, who was your backup?
Carrie.
Or did you even have one? Carrie.
Not
mad at that at all.
Not mad.
Yeah, very close second, Regina King as Shirley.
Absolutely. That's a great performance. Someone who does something so naturally well that you almost discount how difficult of a job it is for her to play somebody else like that.
For sure.
It'd be that spot on. And Hard Truths, just for what it's worth, because it's not nominated. Excuse me. It's not nominated for Outstanding Film, so we'll get our last thoughts on it now. If you haven't watched it, I don't want to dog it, but I also don't want to tell you it's a good movie to set your expectations. Yeah. It's definitely different. It's something that I didn't. The subject matter was something that I think is necessary.
For sure.
Even if it's not. It's like putting a steak on a fork and not giving you putting a steak on a plate and not giving you the knife and fork. Like, here's something to have. How you digest it and take it is up to you.
I get you. I got you.
And I think that depending on who you are and where you are in life, you can really feel differently about this movie. It made me feel things and what I mean by that, but it didn't give you character development in a way. So the son, if you watch the movie,
listen,
at the end of the movie, right, there's a moment where you see this son who is obviously has some issues and is depressed and everything else. And there's a moment where he has an interaction with someone out in public, and it's just like my heart just was like happy for him. I'm like, yo, that's dope. Like, he's having that interaction, but it also made me want more. Like, oh, what's going on with him? So it had a good job of that. And then there's just a lot of things. You see Pansy, who was played by Marianne Jean-Baptiste, and just the things she's going through and not being able to connect to people. It's a talking point for sure. Is it a good movie? That's up for you to decide. I just like to give realistic expectations on what you're getting in. The Culture Guard did not tell you that this is a classic and shit got snubbed. I'm just telling you it is a very interesting movie. And the performance was great.
Yeah, they
But
had
lastly, go
they
ahead.
had
My
that
bad.
boy Moses eating every scene, wasn't he?
Yeah, Moses was out here just
Every scene that boy
I
was
felt for
grubbing.
Moses, and I'm
Mhm,
there's certain people I'm very empathetic for, like
mhm,
For
certain
sure.
groups of people. I'm an empath to the full and full, like through and through. And
mhm.
I just wanted to know more about Moses, and I'm like, why are
Yeah,
y'all not tending to this young man? Like, why are
yeah.
y'all not? And he was just so he was so socially awkward. It made you awkward watching it.
Mhm,
Watch the film, y'all, if you haven't seen it.
mhm.
I don't. I think to myself, will this ever be a Culture Guard movie? Probably not.
Y'all
But the
got it.
performance is really good. Yeah, I'm about to say Rachel won't be on it if we ever do discuss it. All right. We get to the nitty-gritty. We get to the end. Last category, the big fish.
Yeah.
Outstanding film. The reason we're all here. We love film. We love movies. Let's talk about it. There were 5 nominees. Challengers, which I have a question about. Should challengers have been nominated for outstanding film at the Black Reel Awards?
No,
No.
not at any
It was a
awards.
very
Go ahead.
It was a very odd choice, you know what I mean? But hey, the people submit them, they vote on what they want to be nominated, whatever. So challengers, the piano lesson, Nickel Boys, Sing Sing, Exhibiting Forgiveness. Nickel Boys was the winner. I
Mhm,
also want to make it known Nickel Boys is also the only film from this list that's nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
mm,
Once again, this is done by voting, right? So there is a board. It's
mhm.
not 2 or 3 people that are picking these movies. I said it at the beginning. Nickel Boys is a very award film,
Mhm.
just in the premise of the way it's billed and put out to people. It makes me think about films like Crash,
Yeah.
where you just have this film and now the hype train goes around it. Not to take anything away from the film because I really enjoyed it, but you can tell the movies that are like, all right, then this was made for a certain, dare I say, this was made for a certain group of white people to connect.
Now
Good about voting for.
it's
Go
it's
ahead, Scoop.
it's funny you mentioned this too. You mentioned it earlier, the way it was shot. I don't know if you remember this, but this might have been at least 10 years ago. Um, it was a movie called Boyhood at the Oscars that was like the talk of the town, and I believe it was shot the same way.
Mm.
That wasn't
But
a Jonah Hill's movie, was it?
no, it's a movie they shot, and they had been shooting it. The little boy grows up, so they had been shooting the movie for like 15 years. But they shoot it from his perspective, kind of like
Yeah.
yeah,
It's rated higher than any of the films we talked about today. It's a
yeah,
7.9.
yeah. But yeah,
Ethan Hawke was in it.
that kind of reminded me of that the way they shot the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm gonna check it out.
What's your
Maybe
winner,
one day.
School?
Yeah, what's your winner?
Exhibiting Forgiveness, man.
Exhibiting Forgiveness. Did you have a second place and runner up?
Out of those movies, I guess Sing Sing.
Yeah. Ray P?
I'm going Exhibiting Forgiveness as well, but I'm actually going to go back to the piano lesson as my second for.
Okay,
Mm.
not mad at that.
It's gonna be sweep. Sweeps for the Culture Guard, man. Exhibiting Forgiveness. And then I'm going Sing Sing, and then I'm going Nickel Boys, and then I'm going Piano Lesson. And the only reason Piano Lesson isn't higher is because you can just tell it's so much better as a play.
For sure.
Not to take anything away from the acting because it was still good. Like 6.2 is criminal.
Yeah.
For
Way
sure.
too low. It's criminal. But I understand if people are attached to a certain version of it, whatever. That's cool.
For sure.
But Exhibiting Forgiveness. Go ahead, Ray.
No, go ahead.
Exhibiting Forgiveness has the benefit of being the most familiar with our day-to-day lives
Yeah.
Yeah.
than a lot of these other films. Like none of us have ever been in a challenger situation,
No.
No.
right? Like we've never been in a blink twice situation
Hell
That we
no.
know of.
that we
Yeah,
know
I
of.
guess.
Amen. That we're obviously living in a different time to where we don't have to experience things like the 688.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of films that were within that, but exhibiting forgiveness, we all have shit from our past that we're
For
trying
sure.
to reconcile, and people and things that we're trying to forgive, not for that person, but for ourselves, so we can move on
Yeah.
with our lives. There were so
Yes.
many jewels and moments, and depending on where you are in your life, and I love movies like this, I love TV shows like this, where depending on where you are in life, you can look at this movie different ways.
Yep.
You
Mhm.
can look at this movie as 20 years old and single one way, and then you can come back 15 years later at 35 with 2 kids and look at it a different way.
Yeah.
You can look at this movie a way when you have a good relationship with one of your parents. You can have a different relationship, or you can have one of your parents that you've lost and look at
Yeah.
this movie a different way. Like there's so many different angles and perspectives, and that's why it's always going to live on, because it goes with you as a person. Because these emotions can't be faked, and there's something that we all deal with. And I just thought the acting was incredible
Yeah.
from top to finish, and just the idea of the struggle of trying to understand something or someone for the sake of someone else at their request, when I've already told myself this person will never exist. And even not to spoil anything, even to not get the traditional ending.
Yeah.
And for something that we all talk about where we have to make the best decisions for ourselves. There's a moment, once again, this isn't stepping on it, but there's a moment where he says, no, the future is for Aisha, and I forget the son's name.
Tremaine.
Like I've given too much of the past to, you know what I mean? And just that whole idea we think of, right? Like not every forgiveness moment means that we have to keep moving. We
For
can leave
sure.
things where they are.
For sure.
And that's another movie. I always talk about movies being a little too long. I'm not saying I needed another 15 minutes, but I am curious to know how that relationship is.
You know, the thing that bothered me about this movie is, you know, I'm work. You know, I just graduated my recovery program. You know, 9 months clean.
Shout out to you, school.
Thank you. And one thing that bothered me was the whole, what program is this father working? And the reason I say that is because you're taught, you know, I want to say lesson 8, you know, the 12 steps people are familiar with. I believe lesson 8 is the one about amends. And you're taught, you know, you apologize, but not when it can injure someone. You know what I mean? Like, not when it's going to stir up old feelings, you know? So it's kind of one of those things, like, I know it's your son, and you can apologize, but what's understood doesn't need to be explained, in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, and I think he was trying to do that, but obviously he didn't know how to, you know. And yeah, man, it's just it's a dope ass movie, and I think that's a story that also needs to be told. Is just like, you know, how crack, how drugs, period, but crack really just killed our men, man. Like, and I couldn't imagine my dad being trying to make steel out of me, you know, and but he's smoking crack. Like, this shit was just dope, like a dope story that needed to be told, no pun intended.
Yeah, and real quick, you made a great point about you're not supposed to go down that step if it's going to hurt or injure someone.
Yeah.
There's a scene in The Sopranos where there's a character, Christopher Moltisanti. He has an addiction and substance abuse problem, and Tony Soprano is picking him up there in the car, and they're just kind of talking through it. And Chris was like, you know, I'm at the point where I'm at amends. And Tony looks at him and says, well, maybe you should skip that one. Right? Just tells him, like, he was at the point, Chris was ready to get to the point where he wanted to get to everybody else that was a part of the mob and kind of just make amends. And he looked at him dead up. He's like, man, I think that's when you need to skip.
Yep.
Because I know how this is gonna go.
Yep.
And it's just funny you brought it to my attention, school, where I think a lot of people in that situation maybe don't know.
Yeah.
That's because they mean they're coming in such good faith, and I mean so well with this apology.
Yeah.
That it's gonna hurt me to not be able to deliver it to you because you're not ready to receive it.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting place to be in. It's very Exhibiting Forgiveness, and for full disclosure, it was the last film I watched out of all of these.
Yeah.
So
Really?
not that there's a recent. Yeah, I saved it. I knew once I saw Andre Holland and Ingenue, I said I'm watching this movie last. I didn't even know what it was about. Didn't even know what it was about, but I knew I was watching the last just because it felt like something that I was going to gravitate towards. But yeah, I just really enjoyed the film. Rachel, I don't know if we got your answer on the winner.
Oh yeah, we did. It was Exhibiting Forgiveness
Yeah, it was a sweep.
with the piano lesson as my second. What I was gonna say, you mentioned piano lesson about it being a play and this, that, and the third. Well, I just want to tell you and the rest of the audience, the Washington family plans to bring I think 3 more of August Wilson's plays to the big screen. So y'all might have to get over that.
I love it. I love
it.
it. I love the piano lesson. I listen.
Yeah, for sure.
I love the piano lesson. It was, like I said, 6.2 is obscene. I want to see more of the plays. I'm cool with it. It's just more. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna disrespect August Wilson like that. I was gonna make another comparison, but it's not even apples and oranges. It's apples and fucking kiwis. Like, it's not even on the same level. So I don't even want to make the comparison. But yeah, it was. You can't watch the piano lesson and not be blown away. That's why they won Best Ensemble for me. It was incredible.
For sure. The other thing, and I don't know why I didn't think of her earlier as far as snubs for, and I guess I couldn't give her breakout, but maybe a scene stealer would be Andra Day, her role in Exhibiting Forgiveness.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know why I didn't put her on, and I had the same thought as you.
Yeah,
I needed a couple more scenes.
A couple more to truly be supportive. Yeah,
a couple more. 100% would have been in there. What a story! Like, I will obviously say more of our thoughts. I think Exhibiting Forgiveness is one that we'll definitely be discussing on Culture Garden at some point.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Our full thoughts on the performances and everything else. But it was hard not to get. I thought Sing Sing was going to get it.
Yep.
I enjoyed Nickel Boys, and here's the one thing I will say about Nickel Boys that I didn't say earlier. When I saw what the film was about, it was one of those. All right, I'll drag my feet to come see this because I don't want another sad black Jim Crow boarding school mistreated film. I don't want to sit down for another 2 hours and watch that. But if you watch it, it's really not as heavy as you would expect it to be.
Right.
Like, you're aware of what's going on. You're aware of the time period, but it's not heavy. It's not what I was expecting. It wasn't. I thought I was walking into some like real vicious shit, some 12 Years a Slave emancipation shit, but it was like very digestible for the subject matter.
Yeah.
Do you watch 1923 on Paramount Plus?
With Harrison Ford, Is that Harrison Ford? No.
Yes.
And Helen, is that Helen Mirren?
He and Helen Mirren, yes.
Yeah, no, I don't watch it, but I am familiar with what it is.
Also, a part of that story is the history, quote unquote, of the reform schools in America, but the subject is actually the Native Americans in those reform schools. And to your point, while we got the audio of some of the abuses that were happening in 1923, Taylor Sheridan puts it all on the silver screen for you to see the brutality of what those reform schools were doing to those people. And I think that is sort of what, to your point, I was anticipating and watching. I actually watched both Sing Sing and Nickel Boy today, and I'm like, okay. Again, I want to read the book, which probably, knowing Colson Whitehead, will probably have some more of the brutalities in print. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm going to get the book.
No doubt. Well, that's it. We covered everything. We covered all the categories. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Shout out to the Black Reel Awards. We'll say that. We'll continue to
Black Reel.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Tim Cordell will continue to have discussions with them. Television Awards. this summer/fall.
Okay.
Might be something that you want to check out on We Got Y'all. I'm not sure now. I'll say that, and that's completely up to Ray P, because I'll tell you right now, there's no way I'm watching all that television. I just won't. Ray P probably already has, and she's in the midst of it.
Yeah.
So I would never put a decision. I would never suggest doing it, because I know there's gonna be a lot more shows that I just won't be able to have time to binge. TV is an art, and that's why I always tip my hat to Ray P and the way she does it. Go ahead.
Well, considers Black shows.
Yeah.
So it's probably not as overwhelming as you think.
Yeah, but the idea, listen, y'all, for those of you who don't know what it's like to prep for an episode like this, the idea of not having your life to watch whatever you want to watch because you are actually doing work for a podcast can be a lot. And I'll just say it like that. Like the first thing I'm doing as soon as we end record on this is I'm watching something that I've been wanting to watch, because I've been so dedicated to making sure that we have everything prepped and ready, and I have something that I can actually contribute to the conversation. I say all that to say, knowing what it took for the films, I could not see myself seeing the nominations, realizing there's a couple of shows that I didn't watch, and having to go through the whole season, or even worse, there's a show that maybe I haven't even watched or I'm behind on by a season and a half. Now I got to catch up with it. I'm that type of person. I can't just watch the new season. Got to watch everything. So we'll see what happens, but I think it is worth the conversation. But shout out to them and everything they're doing over there at Black Reel. Shout out to the 25th annual. I know there are other things that they are rolling out and to celebrate their 25th year. And we will be discussing that as well. I know there's some acting lists and maybe top 25 of the past 25 years. We'll have those conversations. Also want to just highlight Nickel Boys. I know they didn't really win with us, but they did lead the Black Reel Awards with 6 total wins out of the 13 nominations. The 22nd film in the 25-year existence to win 5 or more Bolt Awards. So I do want to highlight that. For those who want to know, Black Panther leads with 10. They're the only film to have double-digit wins at the Black Reel Awards. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So with that being said, School, Rachel, I said this before we started recording. One of my favorite things to do, whether we have a podcast or not, is talk about films with people that I love talking about films with, and people that I love in general. And this is nothing more than a Thursday, Friday night shooting the shit. Hey, did you see this movie? What you think? And the same conversation we had. So I really appreciate y'all deeply. Appreciate I don't know if either one of you have last words before we get out of here.
Watch these movies. Thank y'all for watching us. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Be cool. How y'all be cool?
No doubt. Also, real quick, my bad. Last thing.
Man, this nigga done
I know, man. I fucked it up. I just want to make sure people know, even though next week is March, we do have one more Romance Month episode for you.
Oh, yeah.
So we will be dropping one more, just so y'all know, and then we'll get back into our regular rotation. And don't forget, the first quarter is up at the end of March, and we will be taking our quarterly break. So just give you a fair warning on that. But as Rachel said, please watch this movie. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. And as School said, peace.
Y'all be cool. Y'all be cool.
We out.